Time. It is one of the most underappreciated assets that we have. Unlike spending money, we don't put a lot of thought into how we are going to spend our time. The fresh batch of 24 hours that we get every day makes time seem infinite, almost like a renewable resource that we can exploit as much as we want. But in reality, it is quite different. Our time is limited. And to make time for things that matter to us the most, we have to protect it from other distractions and commitments that don't align with our long term vision. So in this video, I'll be talking about 3 techniques that I've been using to safeguard my time and make score for things that I value the most. But before we get started, let's take a few minutes to understand the gravity of the situation. The average human lifespan is about 80 years. Converted that to weeks, it comes to around 4,100 weeks. Now, during the first 7 to 10 years of our life, we are not mature enough to understand the importance of our time. If we subtract 10 years out of those 4,100 weeks, it comes down to roughly around 3,650 weeks. But here's the thing, it is usually after our 20s when we suddenly realize that our time is priceless and we start thinking more about our future. So this is the time that we pay more attention to how limited time that we have in this planet and how we can make the most out of it. For example, I was 28 years old when I started realizing the value of my time and started paying more attention to how I'm going to spend it on and what I'm going to spend it on. At 30 years of age, I have less than 2,600 weeks left on this planet. But if you calculate the number of productive hours that I have left, it is way less time that you have to do things that matter to you. The point here is not to bore you into submission with maths, but to let you understand the gravity of the situation and so that you can pay more attention on how you're going to spend your time. And the answer comes in 3 stages. The first one is creating a time sanctuary. A significant portion of my waking hours goes according to someone else's agenda. Working a full-time job, I don't have total control over my schedule for the most part of my day. Meetings come in suddenly, our coworker pings me to understand the problem they are facing, and so on. And although I can create time blocks on my calendar to block out some focus time during the day, very few people respect that. They usually schedule meeting on top of those focus times, leaving me no time to work on something that is valuable. To combat this situation, I have set up time sanctuaries that help me find some peaceful focus time to work on my projects outside of work. And this is how it works. Time sanctuaries are blocks of time where I know that I won't be disturbed by someone else. These are my focus time and these are moments of solitude that I can enjoy my work in peace. So if you imagine working inside a bubble where you are completely protected from any distractions that might come your way, that can be imagined as a time sanctuary. For example, I have 2 time sanctuaries every day to help me work on Halri and other projects that I have outside of my day job. One is in the morning before the work day starts, and the other one is in the evening after I'm done with all the obligations of my 9 to 5 job. So these are the moments where I know I won't be having an unexpected meeting or an unexpected message come my way, and I can totally work in peace during that time. If you visualize this on a calendar, this is how it would look. So right at the top, I have the first time sanctuary, which is from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is where I work on various Halri projects like writing an article or recording this video and many other things that I need to do for the Halri blog or the newsletter or on the YouTube channel. And then comes the office block. So this is when my normal office hours begin from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the evening. Then at the bottom, I have the second time sanctuary, which starts from 7 p.m. in the evening. And this is the time that I do a lot of unwinding work like reading an article or maybe reading a book. Now, you don't have to necessarily build out time blocks outside your working hours to work on something else other than your office work or your primary work. If you're constantly distracted at work by meetings or pings from a coworker or some other obligations, these time sanctuaries are the moments that you can take to get serious chunks of work done. Depending on how free your schedule is and how much time you'd like, you can set up 1 or 2 time sanctuaries during your everyday work. Now, there are no specific rules to building your time sanctuaries, but the one thing that helps is understanding how you work. So over the next week, observe how you spend your days. You can use a notepad to write down all the activities that you do in a single day and when you do it. So this will give you an idea of how you're spending time every day and if you have any free time during your day. With the knowledge of your schedule, figure out time in your day where you're least likely to be disturbed by someone else and most likely to focus on the work that you want to do. These are the times where you can use to set up your time sanctuaries. But setting up time sanctuaries is just one part of treating this problem. The second part is saying no. Now you can have all the time in the world and still not get anything done. Like we have discussed previously, our time is limited. If you're saying yes to say every single thing that comes your way, you have to say no to something else. And most people fall into this trap of saying yes to meaningless things and saying no to the most important work in their life. The key to this problem is being comfortable in saying no to others. But how do you decide how to say yes and how to say no? A trick that I've been using to understand when to say yes and when to say no is to compare it with an activity that adds to my long-term vision. For example, if someone comes to me with a request to do something, I ask myself, would I want to do this instead of working on Halri? And the answer is often no. So this is how I gauge when to say yes and when to say no. Now there are times when I would like to work on something else other than Halri, and at those times it's natural to say yes, because there are things that I want to make time for instead of working all the time on Halri, like playing with my dog, spending time with my family, or just enjoying time on a hobby. And in those situations, it is okay to say yes, because I don't want to be working all the time on Halri and burning myself out. So this is a balance that you have to strike. And if you're concerned about what other people will think if you say no to them, don't. Most people will respect your decision and move on. And for the others that don't, well, there's nothing else that you can do. Your time is more important than thinking about what other people will think and then saying yes to everything else. So starting today, say no to useless things and mindlessly scrolling on social media and make time for things that matter to you the most. Now there might be time where you have already committed to something like going out on an event or working on a project with a friend that you now think might not be as valuable that you once thought it was. So in those situations, it's best to uncommit what you have already committed. Back in 2019, a friend invited me to make video tutorials for his online learning platform. At that time, the offer seemed exciting, and obviously I said yes. But after a few days, I came to realize that making video tutorials is going to take a lot of time off my schedule. And at that time, I was already working on a project of my own. So working on this project would mean that I have to sacrifice time on my personal project to work on these video courses. And at that time, my personal project that I was working on was more important than working on this online course. So after a few days of thought, I got back to him and turned down the offer. He respected my decision and was happy that I got back to him upfront instead of wasting too much of his time. There were no hard feelings and I'm still friends with him. Now when it comes to getting out of a commitment, you have to be mindful of the other person's time. That means not showing up at the last moment and saying no, and giving the other person enough time to make alternate arrangements. If you try to get out of a commitment at the very last moment, it will make you seem unreliable. So if you're uncommitting to something, do it as soon as you can. That was tip number 3. But the most important tip is to change how you think about time. Starting today, treat each hour in your day as a gold block in the bank. Would you randomly give away a gold block to someone else? No, right? So why do that with your time? Think about it, and I'll see you in the next one.